for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well, good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. How you doing? Good evening, everybody. Today's Wednesday, December 13th. 347 days into the new year, just 18 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Yeah, I'm a bachelor for a week. Had to do everything myself today. Walk the dogs, feed the dogs, write, produce, phone calls, email. I had to do it all. I miss Rita already. Deanna. They're in Manhattan, everybody, enjoying December in Manhattan. Literally staying in Central Park. And already texting me pictures of the amazing pizza that they are having for dinner tonight. And you know it's good. It's New York. You can't, you know, that is a cannot fail proposition right there. Pizza in New York. You have to, I mean, I can't imagine somebody in New York messing up a pizza so bad. I mean, that's it. You could only make that mistake once. You'd be out of business. The competition is pizza there. Well, the competition is food in general. But, yeah, so you know. And Rita called me a little bit ago and goes, you know, remember that pizza place we ate at Mi Familia? And I said, yeah. She goes, this place dusted that. And that's just strong words. That is strong words. I don't know if you can just have a best pizza in New York. Maybe different because it's all good. I've never had a bad pizza in New York. Anyway, enough of that. They're there. I'm here. You are with us. And tonight, it's Whitley Strieber. And we're going to talk about his new book, The Afterlife Revolution. He has done it once again. I'll talk about that in just a bit. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by Open Lines. And that will be tomorrow night. Heading out for the rest of the month here. Next week, we just have an amazing week lined up. And, of course, it's our fourth anniversary. Or is it the fifth? Is it the fifth anniversary? What is it? First anniversary? You know, I don't know. We're starting year 5. So next week would be our 4th anniversary. That's how that works, right? It's not our 5th. You have to complete the year to be 5. So next week is our 4th anniversary, starting our 5th year on the show. So we're going to have a special celebration night with that. And Race Hobbs is going to come in here and co-host with me with a bunch of surprise guests all night long. Okay, now I do have a couple of friends that are here tonight and babysitting dogs down the hallway. I didn't want to leave them over at the house for 6 straight hours. So if you hear funny business, it's because that's what's going on out there. That'll be interesting. It's never happened before on the show, right? We've had little puppies in here, that have stopped by to visit over the years, but never had like the full-grown dog situation. So here we go. I got it. That's part of being a bachelor, right? Yeah, it's called leashes and collars. So then next week, coast to coast. The week after that, coast to coast. Of course, Christmas is coming up and then New Year's. So we've got a very, very, very busy month heading out these last couple of weeks. And it's just going to be a fun time. And then we go straight into New Year's. And, of course, we have – I don't want to let the invitation – I don't want the names out, okay? So if there are people listening to this show that may be invited to our New Year's shindig, keep it quiet. Keep it quiet. Yeah. There's a reason for that. There's a reason. The guest list is private. That's the first thing. The second thing, there's surprises that are involved on that guest list too. But our New Year's Eve party is coming up, and I cannot wait. And there are a few of you out there that have been over to the pad over the last I don't know how many years where we've had our New Year's Eve parties. They are no joke, and I'm looking forward to it. 'Tis the season, right? Okay, let's get things started. Whitley Strieber is here tonight. The book is incredible. The book is absolutely incredible. So you can go to Amazon. You can go over to jimmychurchradio.com. You can click. You can go and get the book. I highly, highly, highly suggest it. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Fade to Black. You can go do that now over on the website, jimmychurchradio.com, and click. The sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. We don't bite. Come and hang out with us. Okay? Come and hang out with us. We do now tonight. I'm wondering. No, I don't think Rita's going to check in tonight in Twitter. They're in Manhattan. I was just thinking it's going to be kind of strange. Who is going to run things tonight? Who is going to run things? Do I need to give people password permissions and stuff? Somebody's got to babysit. I didn't even think about that. When the cat's away, the kids come out to play. All right. Any questions or comments during the show? Just use hashtag F2BQ. You can also email throughout the show tonight, which means they'll be coming in directly to me, unfiltered, Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Yeah, it feels a little bit weird. I don't have Messenger open, so I don't have that. I'm just, it's weird. Rita's not in Twitter, manning things and tweeting and not hanging out in the chat rooms, not telling me what to do. Wow. It's kind of cool. All right. Our next event is coming up. The Conscious Life Expo, February 9th through the 12th, 2018 at the LAX Hilton. It's going to be a great weekend of events, the greatest lineup of speakers for awakening and consciousness there is all year long. And it's going on at the LAX Hilton. Tickets and info are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Just click on the Conscious Life Expo banner. It is right there. Check out all of the festivities. I'll be hosting the Ancient Aliens panel on Friday night. And my panelists, my guests are Linda Moulton Howe, David Wilcock, Corey Good, Jay Widener, and William Henry. And we will be doing a very cool tribute for Jim Mars. And there you go. So that'll be Friday night. So come and hang out with us there. Okay, Conscious Life Expo. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We have now, as of today, 770 archive shows right there. Apple, Android, all platforms, just $2 a month. Okay, now let me hit this River Moon coffee. Little scratch in my throat. A little scratch in my throat. Did you guys see the picture I just posted over on Facebook? Go over to my Facebook page and check out that picture. Now, this picture was taken 2 years ago. Let's see here. If I copy this and I go back over to TweetDeck and I post this, and then I just do hashtag F2B, or hashtag KGRA. Boom, done. There's my Facebook page. Okay, so check out the picture that I posted over there. Picture was taken 2 years ago. It was a selfie. Roger Cluton took it. He's Clyde Lewis's producer, right? Well, this is in Roswell. This is the hotel. And was just by the luck of the draw, Clyde Lewis and myself and Rita, we were staying across the hall from each other. Literally, like you walked out my door and there was Clyde across the hall. And then Roger Cluton was staying there too as well, his producer next door. And then also next door to us was Ron Patton. So Roger took this picture one morning, right? And a cool selfie. There's the whole gang, and we do this in the hallway. But check out in the background, right behind me, there's Clyde's executive producer right there, Ron Patton. And if you look really closely, you can see that Ron is photobombing wearing plaid boxers. It's a great picture. Go ahead, pollute TweetDeck with this right now. I will thank you. I will retweet this right now. That is so deserving of a retweet. All right. Where am I at? You can become a Fade or Not, too. Just go over to our membership section, and you can do whatever you'd like to do. You can do everything from becoming a Fade or Not. You can do that for free. Get the bunker cam on Thursday nights and an email to me. You can also, if you want, commercial-free downloadable archives. You can even get autographed hats and T-shirts and all of that stuff. Just go to our membership section right there at jimmychurchradio.com and visit all of our sponsored. It is the season, right? It's the holidays. So why don't you give somebody some Life Change tea, right? Or River Moon coffee, Fade to Black blend, right? Think about that. Numana Food Storage, Bearing Optics, New Pharma, all of the promo codes that you need for discounts and free shipping and all of that fun stuff are right there in the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. All right, let's get this show cracking. I've got something in my throat, and that plagues radio guys from time to time, TV too, where you get that thing and you can't get rid of it, no matter what, right? You just can't. The only thing that'll do it is a River Moon Coffee Fade to Black blend. Happy birthday to today, Tom DeLonge. Tom DeLonge, 29 years old. Yeah, no, he's not. He's 42. But I just did the tweet. I said that he was 29. Tom DeLonge today is 42. Happy birthday, Tom. I doubt that he's listening to the show tonight. He better not be. It's his birthday. Also today, Steve Buscemi is 60. Man, I can't believe that. Ted Nugent today is 69. Man, I got to tell you, Double Live Gonzo, that album. No matter what you think about Ted today and his outspokenness and his hunting and everything else, no matter what, that album, Double Live Gonzo, changed things. It's an album that I listened to today. It's an amazing record. And I cannot believe that dude is 69 years old. Next year, Ted Nugent is going to be 70. Oh, man. I don't know where the world's gone. I have no idea. On this day in history, OTD, 2003. Saw this live on TV. I'll never forget this. After spending 9 months on the run, former Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein is captured in a rabbit hole on this day in 2003. Rumor has it he had a whole porn stash down there, too, as well. And he had a porn stash, and he had a porn mustache. Yeah. Fade or fact, Red Bull was originally called, oh, you know what? Don't cheat. Don't cheat. Who knows the original name of Red Bull? Let me see it pop up here in Twitter. Don't Google it. If you Google it, I'll know it. Okay? Because you'll get it right. You can take some guesses. But who knows? Who knows? I don't have a way of verifying the original name of Red Bull. Let's see who can bust that one out. Tonight, yeah, Double Live Gonzo right there. That's the record. Double Live Gonzo. Man, hibernation. Great White Buffalo. All right, let's see who's got this. Sup. No, it wasn't called Sup. Who's got... Oh, that's funny. That's good. Let's see. Nobody's got it. Red Wings. Good guess. John, good guess. Wait till you hear what it really is, and then you'll understand. Good guess. All right. Red Bull was originally called Red Water Buffalo. That's right. Now, remember what I just said. Ted Nugent, Double Live Gonzo, right? Great White Buffalo. How, and the world is trippy, man. The universe with synchronicity. Synchronicity happens, you don't ignore it. And that's just a bizarre thing to have happen right there. So, yeah, the Fader fact today was Red Bull, originally called Red Water Buffalo, which was preceded with Ted Nugent, 69 years old, Great White Buffalo. That's trippy. I mean, when was the last time you said buffalo twice in two sentences in 60 seconds, right? Rajan Patel, Red Balls. Oh, come on, Rajan. It's a family show. That is a porn stash. Tommy B. Is that right? Look at Saddam. That is a porn stash. If I've ever sang that. Yeah, try saying that after drinking a couple of them. You're right about that. All right. Now, this is the deal. This is the deal. For me, and I've talked about these game changers from time to time, but for me, for all of us, let's just say this. For all of us, we've had points in our conspiracy supernatural lives where we've had those game-changing moments. Whether it was reading something, maybe it was a video, something on TV, breaking news, a book, documentary, a movie, maybe you saw somebody speak, a picture, a photograph. We've all had those game-changing moments, right? And where it just forced you to go and take a turn. And for me, now I was probably around the age of 9. Chariots of the Gods. Game changer. No doubt. Game changer. I couldn't get Chariots of the Gods at that age, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. I couldn't get it off of my brain. I never, you know what? I never did. It's always been there. And then, of course, and this isn't in any particular order, but I try to list this chronologically. And as I was doing this today, I was forced into making this list because of Whitley's new book, The Afterlife Revolution. Right? I'm reading it, and I'm going, man, I'm having one of those moments. This is a game changer. And so I went and I started to think about all of these moments, right? So there, of course, Chariots of the Gods, right? Billy Meyer. Billy Meyer, for me, a couple of times surfaced and blew my mind. Now, as we all know, it's just all one big hoax today. But that doesn't matter about what I went through the first time I saw Billy Meyer's pictures and images. I freaked out. It all came crashing down when I saw the Billy Meyer movies. I realized it was all a bunch of BS, but nonetheless, man, Billy Meyer right there. And then there were a couple of books that happened right in a row, actually, with An Interrupted Journey and Betty and Barney Hill. That book was a game changer for me. Changed things. There was my life before that book and after. And at the same time, during the same week, I read The Andreessen Affair, Betty Andreessen. And that book, unlike An Interrupted Journey, because An Interrupted Journey is very much a nonfiction accounting, historical type document, where The Andreessen Affair are these hypnosis sessions that Betty went through, and these are the transcriptions. And that freaked me out. I literally could not sleep. I couldn't sleep. I would read that book until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I would read the book. I'm not making this up, by the way. I would read the book with one eye. My other eye, I would look past the book at the same time at my window in my bedroom. Yeah, I got that down pat. I was so freaked out by that book. And that was a game changer for me. Betty Andreessen, The Andreessen Affair. And then came Communion. Communion was one of those moments, and then the movie, of course, too. But the book, I was talking to Whitley about this earlier, the book Communion is now almost to a whatever status. Not in a negative sense. What I mean by that is everybody has got a communion story. It's like whatever, everybody's got a communion story. Right? It's just like whatever. You can expect it. I could do a show with first-time callers, back to back to back to back, with everybody sharing a communion story. Okay? So there's that. Game changer, Communion. And then, of course, Roswell. Game changer. Game changer when that surfaced. The first time I saw Fire in the Sky, Travis Walton, when that movie came out, it was that was a game changer. Game changer. Bob Lazar. Game changer. MJ-12. When those documents hit and what happened on the internet, game changer. It's early days on the internet, too. Think about how that went down. Serpo and the aviary. The aviary, Serpo was one story. The aviary being part of that, but this went on for a while, and that was a game changer, too. Condor, right? Game changer. Rendlesham, game changer. And then about 10, excuse me, I'll edit that out. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, Whitley pops up again with his accounting of the blue guys, right? The little blue dudes. And again, Whitley surfaced for me, so we had Communion. Then he comes along and he forces me to rethink everything with the little blue dudes. And I went back and it forced me to reassess reality as I knew it. And he was on to something, right? And over the last 10 years, so many things have surfaced, since then, and the Whitley Blue things. So much has gone down. And there's a lot of moments there, right? Vast amounts of information, videos and books and YouTube and radio and TV and, coast to coast and ancient aliens and, just vast amounts of information, the alien autopsy, right? So there's all of that stuff. But now, here comes Whitley again with this book, and it's called The Afterlife Revolution. I can't put it into words. Now, we're going to go deep into this book tonight and what the title actually means, The Afterlife Revolution. He has co-authored it with his wife, Anne, which is important here. But before you go and think, because this is not what I expected with this book, it's co-authored with Anne, so you naturally assume a few things there. And I'm not going to give anything away. I'm going to leave that to Whitley on how he wants to discuss this book tonight. But and Anne and how that's dealt with. But that's not what it's about. It's about the afterlife revolution. And he starts to propose some pretty fascinating things about what's going on in the afterlife and what it means for the entire world. So it is indeed a game changer. And I went and I looked at this list and I put this list together, and Whitley is on this list 3 times. 3. That's extraordinary. You know, and when we look at a lot of the accumulated stuff, you know, crop circles and cattle mutilations and disclosure, you know, Linda Moulton Howe or Richard Dolan and of course, you know, all of the Rendlesham stuff and all of the, you know, Ancient Aliens and of course that whole group of great researchers and you know, all game changers, all of them. Okay, and I get that. I really do. Go back to Lee Tepe. But that's all the new stuff. Whitley is on this list 3 times. And he has forced me into rethinking things. And so you're going to do the same thing tonight. It's going to be one of those conversations. I'm really, really, really looking forward to this. Tomorrow night on the show, when we go into open lines, I want to have a nice long night discussing this book and its implications, because this is potentially a game changer, and it should be read like Communion was read. It should be that kind of blockbuster moment for everybody. It's really that good, and the parts about the communication with Anne, that's one thing. But it's the revelations that Whitley has realized, and he's been putting this together. And we've talked about this over the last year on this show about this book and him writing it. Well, now it's here. And now I get it. I'm trying to get it, I should say. I'm at one of those moments, like I did with Communion and like I did with Whitley and the Little Blue Guys. And it's going to be one of those conversations. So buckle up and get ready, kids. It's going to be one of those nights. So again, I'm a bachelor. Rita is in Manhattan with our daughter Deanna, and I am sure. Well, now they've been traveling since I took them to the airport this morning at 5 a.m. So they've been traveling all day. So they may be a little tuckered out. So I don't know if they're listening tonight, but I love you, honey. Love you, Deanna. You guys have fun. You be safe out there. I'll man the ship here and somehow manage on my own. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight it is Whitley Strieber on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planets. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Stay with us. When I come back after this short break, we'll be joined with Whitley Strieber. Stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark. deep with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Natural Health Solutions with Chris and Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing?
Great, Chris.
Now, you're the CEO of GetTheTea.com, right?
Yes, I am.
What is GetTheTea.com? I mean, is this tea you buy in a store?
Well, no, it's not. Life Change Tea is just that. Life-changing. Life Change Tea is an herbal tea that gently cleanses your body from intruders.
What do you mean by intruders?
Well, intruders are toxins, chemicals, GMOs, heavy metals, and more. They're in our food, in our water, in our air we breathe.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
And Life Change Tea will help you with removing these, as you say, intruders?
That's right, Chris.
Are there side effects with this tea?
Well, you might lose a little weight. When you clean your colon, you lose weight. You feel better, and you have more energy.
Wow. Ronnie, where can people purchase Life Change Tea?
Oh, that's easy. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
Ronnie, I want to thank you for being on the show. People, don't forget, GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Come join in the conversation at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. And you can follow Whitley at Whitley Strieber. He's been tweeting today, I noticed. He is the author of the Communion series of books and many novels ranging from the Wolfen and the Hunger to the Greys and his exciting new Alien Hunter series. Superstorm was made into a movie as The Day After Tomorrow, and of course Communion and Wolfen and Hunger were all made into movies. He's a Texan, and The Secret School has been listed by the Texas Monthly as among the top 10 books written by Texans. Alien Hunter has been made into a TV series, also on the SyFy Channel. And The Afterlife Revolution is Whitley's latest book, written with his wife, Anne, who died in August 2015 at the age of 69. Now, Whitley has discussed many times on this program about the writing of this book over the last year. And tonight, we're going to talk to him about how this was done. We're going to talk to him about the title of the book. And we will take a completely new look at all of these questions of who and what we are. And above all, how to build a strong soul, lead a good life, and die into joy. His website, of course, is unknowncountry.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black our good friend Whitley Strieber. Whitley, good evening. How are you, man?
Good evening. How are you?
I'm better when I hear your voice. Right?
Thank you. It's good to hear yours, too.
Yeah, absolutely, Whitley. And I almost don't know where to start tonight. And the anticipation about this book, you've done a really good job of telling us about the progress over the last year. And one would assume it was a heavy book to write. But I think that there's a misconception also about the book itself, because it could be a transcription, right? a transcription of communication with Anne. There's that part of it, but I think the book is so much bigger than that. Now, this is the question. This is where we're going to start. As you wrote the book, did it develop into what it is, or did you have the vision for the book before you started writing it?
No, I did not. Actually, the way it started was that Anne, I had been, by that time, had become aware of the fact that the contact with Anne, as far as I'm concerned, is real. Mm-hmm. And I knew there was something there in terms of a book. And in this life, when we were physically both alive, she was always my muse and my editor. In other words, she was the one I went to first with everything, and she was the one who played around with ideas and so forth. And when she passed on, I thought, will I even be able to write again? And her attitude was, now you're going to do it even better. And then I was thinking about a book about her, sort of a biography, when there was absolutely silence. I mean, she couldn't have been less interested.
Right.
And then I heard her say it's the Afterlife Revolution. And I thought to myself, what does that mean? And that's kind of where it started. That's where it started.
The audience for this book, I see it. No, wait a minute. It's not about me. It's about you, Whitley. Who do you think should read this book?
Well, I think that anybody who is cruising down this river should read the book.
Which is everybody.
Because
that means
we're
everybody.
all ending up in the same place. Like my doctor says,
right.
In my practice, I have 100% death rate. And he does. We all do.
Right.
That's where we are. And we have been going through in all of our civilization. And long before that, we know that the Neanderthals and possibly beings even earlier than that, proto-humans, were burying and respecting their dead. And, of course, it became raised to a high art among the Sumerians and the Egyptians and so on down the line. And we have always been concerned about what happens at that time when the body ceases. Do we evaporate all of that extraordinary life, as is said in the first Blade Runner, disappearing like tears in the rain?
Right.
Or is something more there? Is something more going to happen? And so anyone who's concerned about this should read the book. And if you're pretending you're not concerned about it, then that's not correct. You are, in fact, concerned about it. We all are.
I was speaking to you earlier today before the show, and what you and I talked about, I spoke about at the beginning of the show, which is, the book forced me into. I started to, have a series of these aha moments where this puzzle, was starting to complete itself over this last week. And I'm like, man, Whitley's doing it to me again, damn it. Right? Here, here we go. And so it forced me into reflect on these game-changing moments throughout my life and who was involved. So I put this list together, and surprisingly, I get to the end, and your name is on it 3 times. Right? It's just like
interesting. I was fascinated when you told me that.
Yeah, and I didn't expect it. And now, and I again, this isn't meant to be a negative statement, but everybody's got a communion moment. Everybody does, right? You can go and every man and woman on the street, and you can go and quiz. Everybody's got a communion moment. So that's not a shocker, right? But you should be on the list, is what I'm saying. That's not a shocker there. But your your research into and theories into the little blue guys and who they were in actuality was something that forced me for a month or two to really, think about life and look at things a little bit differently. And so you made the list a second time, and here this book is now doing it to me now a third time. And I how do you feel about that? I mean, you've changed lives with communion. You know that this has happened, and you've written some very important works over the years. But this one, I think, is just as important as anything you've done.
Well, that's what I'm here for. It's what Anne was here for. What we've given our lives to doing this, and more than her life for Annie. At this point, because when you think of what a soul is, it's something that could conceivably, it could be an eternal part of eternal life. That's important. And that means that every single one of us is really very important. And if you know that and understand that, then you are immediately involved, and you have to ask yourself, how can I help? And when I had the close encounter experience, we struggled. I mean, amazing struggle with this. Annie and I both did, because she was always up for the adventure. And I was terrified after it happened, and I figured out just how weird it was. And I realized I'm not insane. I'm not going to try to get her to stop trying to get her to divorce me, because I was afraid she would be stuck with a lunatic or a psychotic or something. And in those days, if that had happened, she wouldn't have been able to get loose from me for 7 years. So I told a friend, Timothy Greenfield Saunders, about this. He was a wonderful photographer, and his marvelous portrait of Anne is actually on the book, both at the very end of the ebook and on the back cover of the paperback. But anyway, I told him the story, and I said, I'm afraid to tell Anne. He said, don't be. She's going to love this. And so I told her, and she said, oh, thank God. And I thought you were really, it's nothing but a UFO thing, isn't it? I said, well, yeah, but I mean, I was in the darn thing, I think. And she said, well, what an adventure. And that was her attitude, an adventure. And we took it from there. We wrote communion together pretty much, and it went out, and the next thing you know, all these letters came in. She starts reading them, of course, because she could read very quickly, and she's reading all these letters, and her secretary, Laurie Barnes, comes along. She finds Laurie in the letters. She turns out to live across the street. Right. She's Anne's secretary for the next 15 years. They catalog a lot of the letters. They end up keeping 20 or 30,000 of them, a lot of letters. And they're now at Rice University. But at one point, she comes out and she says, Whitley, this has something to do with what we call death. And that really, a light went on in my head, because not only had I seen a dead friend during my first encounter experience, which is brushed past in communion. It's mentioned briefly, but I didn't understand it, so I didn't say much about it.
Right.
It started to happen to people who came to our cabin to see the visitors routinely. In fact, as soon as someone started to see their dead friends or relatives, we knew the visitors would be there later, or at the same time sometimes. So Annie became an expert on the afterlife. She really, really got into it and really read up on it. Then comes 2004. We're getting ready to go on Art Show on Coast with Art, and Anne collapses in my arms. And it turns out she's had a huge hemorrhagic stroke. I get her to the hospital by a literal miracle. Over the series of miracles, over the next 6 weeks, she is saved. She's brought back to life, and she comes back with an incredible story. She's had a near-death experience that completely changed her life. It was a simple experience, and you can read the whole story in the Appendix 1 of the Afterlife Investigator. I mean, the Afterlife Revolution, and but it's very powerful, because she was in this sort of bus station, as she described it, and there were all these people clinging to these huge burdens and bags and suitcases they wouldn't let go, and she realized they have to let go of all this stuff or they can't go on. They can't move on. And then someone said to her, you can go on if you want to, or you can go back. And her mind returned to her son and to me. And her son hadn't gotten married yet. He had a girlfriend that was engaged to. And she decided, thank God, to come back. And she did come back. But she came back a completely changed human being. When she recovered from that stroke, which she recovered from completely, she was no longer afraid of death at all. Not at all. She was interested in it and understood it in deep ways. And now that she has gone over, she has turned back and is sharing that wisdom. And that's where the Afterlife Revolution comes from.
Well, now, so let me ask you this. You had to go back and reflect on your own life too, as well. Did you find moments of things that, she's telling you about, the bus stop, and it's an extraordinary part of the book, by the way. It's a very moving part. But what about you? Did you figure out the things that you needed to let go of and the things that you weren't imperfect with? And you haven't been a saint your whole life either, right? And
oh yes, no, I have been, and I have nothing to let go of, and I'm perfect. So
exactly.
Now having told one lie, I'm in trouble.
Right. And you're forced into doing that, aren't you?
Well, let me tell you what happened. Yeah, is the answer. We've all got stuff. We wouldn't be here. This isn't about gliding through with no scars and no work to do. This is a workhouse. This is a school. We're here to work, and we're here to build these souls and do a good job of it, or not. And that's our choice. So during this life, I've always struggled on many, many different levels. Everybody struggles with their ego. The visitors, the first thing they did was that they started kicking my ego in the tailbone, and in fascinating ways. I think I've told this story on your show before, but suffice to say that because I was acting in an egotistical way one time with my brother, they proceeded to make my bank account evaporate, disappear from the bank's records completely. It disappeared for 24 hours, during which time checks came in. My life continued, only I had no money. And that started with the old lady that's on the cover of the communion saying, arrogance. I can do anything I wish to you. And this was what she wished to do. And since then, I have been very, very careful to try to be as humble as I can be and to be aware at all times that every other human being is as important to themselves as I am to me. And they deserve their space, and they deserve a break, always. So that was the beginning of a long soul journey that went into overdrive after Annie passed away, turned back to me, and began to help me. Because I have to be honest with you, I needed a lot more help than she did. I'm much more bent up than Anne was. Anne was not bent up. She was a very pure human being in this life, and she had her faults. Of course, she's human, but at the same time, they weren't. She had wrinkles and creases, not canyons and crevasses. Let me put it that way. And so when she left this life, she ascended immediately and, into a higher level. And I want to go too. And, she's been helping me. The old truck wants to go too. So that's kind of where I am with this.
Now, there's a couple of statements in the book where I had these aha moments. And one of the things that you wrote is here. I'm just going to read part of it. You say, human beings have been trying to contact their dead for thousands of years, most recently through mediums, psychics, and electronic communications techniques. All would appear to work, at least at times. But personal, intimate, and permanent relationships between the physical and non-physical sides of the human family are also possible. Now, that's profound, but you follow up that with this. As we have lost touch with our souls, we have also abandoned our ancestors. Now, that's a heavy statement. And we have. We've done just that, haven't we?
Yeah, because we've lost touch with our souls, and we're constantly being drilled again and again. The refrain is, you have no soul. You are only a physical being. And in fact, the body is designed to convince us of that, because all of these nerve endings and all of this brain power and these wonderful senses that we have just literally pull us into the physical world to the point that we can't hear our souls at all. And there's a reason for it. We are here to act from our most true essence and to learn who we truly and genuinely are in this life experience. And the way you do that is the part of you that knows your truth becomes deaf to your life. But that doesn't need to be that way. The soul can be part of this journey. And soul blindness, which is like a disease in my book, and that's how we describe it in Afterlife Revolution,
right,
keeps us from, we just can't kind of make the leap. Annie calls it locked expectations. She says, people will say to me all the time, well, I can't get into contact with my wife or my brother or my son or whatever it may be, my husband, my sister, and I want to very badly. And she says it's because we have locked ourselves into the expectation that it's impossible. And that's because we are being told all the time by our bodies that this is all there is. And we need to step back from ourselves a little bit and realize this is not all there is. And you look at the huge literature of experience, of mystical experience and so on over all of the years of the human world, and you realize that of course it isn't. There's a wonderful big universe out there, and the physical part of it is actually only a small incident in the whole reality. Only a little corner. That's all. We live in the corner, in a little corner.
Why do you think it is? Why do you think it is that so many have absolutely lost their souls? The compassion, the morality, and the basic rules and laws of love and life, where we've just lost somebody like. Let's just, somebody that has gone in, robbed a bank, shoots a couple of people, walks out, gets away with the crime, and goes out and spends the money and lives the rest of their life without thinking about what they just did. What happens with that soul?
Well, they're gonna face it. One way or another, in the end, they're gonna face it. And I found out before even Annie passed away, I learned that we miss nothing. Every single tiny incident, every second of our lives are part of us and stay part of us. So, and when you kill somebody, eventually there's going to come a meeting at the river between you and that soul. That is going to happen. It will happen. And you will have to confront that. And praying and so forth and so on only goes so far. in relieving oneself of such a profound guilt. And eventually you have to live that guilt after death. And is there a hell? Well, I think that we can make it for ourselves if we want to by the way we live, but we don't have to. And it doesn't have to be there. It's not there in Annie's world. She doesn't see it, experience it at all. Mm-hmm. Most people don't. The great majority of us don't. And one of the things that's happened with our religions, one of the unfortunate things about them is that they try to control us by warnings. In other words, if you don't do this ritual or don't do that or live this way or don't do that, then you're going to be in trouble with God. And so most of us feel we're a lot worse than we actually are. And Annie's said to me that most of it is just a big joke, that a lot of it has to do with souls interacting with each other in ways that we can't see, and friction taking place among us that sometimes looks like real conflict when actually it's simply a learning experience. So it's very, very complex. And you have to find yourself, and you have to know what you've done that's wrong. And you have to find true remorse and to repair the past if you can. Usually it's impossible, but you can try.
We'll talk more about this after the break. We've got to head to a break, but I wanted to ask you really quick before we get there. When was the last time you spoke to Ann? You talked to her today?
Last night.
Last night. What'd you guys talk about?
Well, nothing.
What does that mean?
I was meditating.
Right.
And I said, I can't hear you. Are you here? And immediately the living room went crack. And so obviously she was.
She was busy. Maybe she was busy.
Well, she was making herself known. She's good at making herself known. She's good at this. She's very good at it.
Man. I'm so jealous. I'm just so jealous. Good for you. Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Whitley Strieber. We're talking about his new book, The Afterlife Revolution. Now, when we come back, there's a lot to talk about, but I'm going to start to set things up, and I'm going to pick a couple of chapters that we're going to discuss out of the book, too. All of that and much more. Our guest tonight, Whitley Strieber. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas. Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Backley Tappy.
You're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. and you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Whitley Strieber. This segment of the show is brought to you by Life Change Tea. Go and check out their Super Strength Tea right now. We use Life Change Tea products every day here at Fade to Black. All of them. Just use the promo code FADER, F-A-D-E-R, and you will get free shipping. Click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. Now, Whitley, it's interesting how Ann talked about, baggage and letting that go. I've often said we walk around, with Samsonite, with luggage, right? Not just baggage, luggage. And you need to cut those strings and let that stuff go.
And figuring out what it is also a challenge, because you might have baggage you don't even know you're carrying.
Right.
You've been under the weight for so long, you've forgotten it's even there.
And for you, tell me, what Samsonite did you cut loose of? I mean,
I'll tell you, and I go into this in the book a lot. Something fascinating happened about a year ago now. I guess it was a year ago April, so it's nearly a year and a half now. I was at a friend's house in Malibu, and they have a lot of events there. And they had a Tibetan monk there who was chanting. And he was the real deal. He was not, he wasn't, he was from Tibet, from North India, not in Tibet, of course, can't be there, but from North India, from a famous lamasery. And it was a powerful experience. And I was sitting there, and suddenly I saw Ann sitting on the bench. We were in the backyard across from me. Across the backyard from me, I was looking, and at first it just seemed perfectly natural that she would be there. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, Ann's dead. And of course, immediately then she disappeared. And I thought, well, that must have been a hallucination. And the next moment, though, I found myself both sitting on the bench I was on and standing at the bottom of a library step, some about 6 or 7 library steps, very pretty wooden steps in a beautiful library. And this was as real as she had been and as real as the bench I was sitting on. So I was sort of in two places at the same time, and the chanting disappeared from my mind. I couldn't hear anything anymore, and I was finally just on those steps. So I walk up the steps, and Annie is standing at the top of the steps. The first thing I notice is her hair is really beautiful. And she hated her hair. She had real thin hair, and all of her life she was struggling with her hair. And I thought to myself, the first thing she did when she crossed over was to make sure that she had good hair. So anyway, she's standing there in this pair of tan slacks and a pullover sweater and a shirt I knew clothes I knew very well that she used to wear a lot when she was in her late 20s that she had then. And I walk up, and she's looking right at me. I mean, we're face to face. I'm looking right into her eyes. And this, to me, is real. It is a real experience. And I look over to she gestures or moves toward the library, which is a wall of books. And she pulls down this green book. And on it is stamped in gold, the big gold letters, the word life. And it's thin. And I think, that's my life? All this I've done, and it just looks like it's only a few pages long. So she opens the book and shows me a picture. It's a very vivid color picture. It's a picture of a woman, and this woman is looking at me with the most baleful face of hatred and exhaustion. And it's a very powerful moment, because I think it might be my mother.
Right.
When I was just a little tiny baby. And, I was hell on earth when I was born, because I couldn't drink for some unknown reason that I'm sure doctors could diagnose now, but they couldn't then. Couldn't handle my mother's milk. And they had to give me baby formula. And it was an incomplete food in those days. So I was more or less hungry all the time. And I screamed and screamed and screamed for the first 6 months of my life. It was so difficult. My father was away still at the war. And my mother had a little girl to raise who was just 18 months old. And me. And one servant. And that was it. And she just became completely exhausted and ended up in a rest home. But what happened then in my mind as I looked at this picture was really profound, because I suddenly realized that it had something to do with something that happened to me as in a very young age, which is that I was apparently dropped on my head. I have an injury in my neck that indicates that this happened. And it's a typical battered child injury. The doctors who've seen it have said there's no question about it. It's a head drop. That's what happened to you. If I fell, I don't know, but I have a feeling I did not. And I have a feeling my mama had ended up in that rest home because she just lost it at some point. And this left me in an incredible state, because a lot of my life, the insecurity of my life, but also a lot of the things that have happened to me, because people who have these head injuries it does break open the head, literally. I mean, literally. I know, or like Damian Brinkley, who got zapped by lightning. These shocks make a difference. They do open doors. And that happened to me, and maybe this hard thing that happened to me was also what blessed me with the most extraordinary life experience I can possibly imagine, or one of the things. So I was left with a new level of feeling of love for my mother, a sense of sympathy because I knew what she had gone through, an unsureness because I can't be certain I'm right about this, and a need to forgive that even though I don't know a final truth about it, I came to a place in myself where forgiveness is not something you do, it's part of what you are. And you have to bring that into yourself and make it part of what you are. So it was a very powerful learning experience that evening with Anne.
Did you feel
very powerful?
Yeah, and do you feel the weight lifted? I mean, it's immediate, isn't it?
Oh, tremendous weight was lifted.
Right.
A weight I didn't even know I was carrying.
Right.
So this is the kind of burden. I mean, life is a very profound experience. It's very beautiful. And we, you know, we're struggling along, worrying about our taxes, politics. The car breaks down. People are gossiping about you. All this stuff's going on constantly, endlessly. Your socks go down, your socks go up, your kids get into trouble, whatnot, this, that, the other thing. We're very busy. But behind all of that busyness, deep inside us, deep inside every single one of us, there is a deep, abiding joy. And Anne lived there. If you were with her for a little while, you went there too. She could take you there just by the way she was. And I'm not saying she was some kind of a guru, not at all. She was a very ordinary human being from a humble home in Michigan. There was nothing special about Anne any more than there is about me or anybody for that matter. But she had this ability to live from the joy of life.
And you guys made a deal. That's the thing, though. You guys made a deal, and she held up to her end of the bargain, right? I mean, that's
well, we made a plan, and I think we made a plan. The thing was that she after she died, I was just, you know, some of you, I'm sure, listening have had an experience like that in your life of someone very dear to you. But Anne dying, and you know, and that person might have been like Anne, like it was like the center of my heart and soul, and my wife, and the incredible love there between us. And the next thing I knew, I was sitting in the living room, just devastated. I did not know how I would go on with life. I was begging to die with her, actually, begging God to let me die too. And the phone rang. I thought, oh God, that's the last thing I need. If this is a telemarketer, they're going to hear something from me that they will not forget. So I picked the phone up, and it's a friend. Belle is her name, friend of Anne's. Anne put out a call on Dreamland one time. We're living in Los Angeles now. We don't have any friends. We want friends. And Belle and her husband Jim have been close friends ever since. And because they answered the call, sent us an email and say, we live here too, and we'd like to meet you. And so we went. Of course, I was totally against the whole thing, figuring that we'd get involved with nuts and crazies or people who wanted to do us harm. But Anne said, no, I know exactly what will happen. These people are wonderful people, and we'll have a wonderful time. And so we had, which is proved to be true. Anyway, Belle calls. She says, Whitley, I just heard Anne tell me that I should call you. And I was sitting there in the chair saying, Annie, do you still exist? Are you still here in any way? And I thought to myself, and then Belle pauses and she says, is she all right? Because she knew Anne was sick, of course. Mm-hmm. And I said, Belle, Anne died an hour and a half ago. And there was this silence, and we were just kind of in awe. And it kept happening. And eventually, I remembered a time back in the early 90s when we were realizing that the whole Close Encounter experience was involved with contact between the living and what we call the dead.
Right.
That we made a plan to try to contact each other, whichever one died first. And we decided that we would not try to do it directly because we're both too skeptical. I mean, if Anne had tried to do it directly, the book had never been written. I would have been always suspicious that it was my imagination wanting her. And she was the same way, even more so, if anything. And so our plan was that we would go to friends first. Only we told no one about this, not even our son. We kept it entirely and completely to ourselves, to the point that, you know, we didn't discuss it for years, and I really kind of forgot about it until it kept happening. And then suddenly I remembered, oh my God, Anne is carrying out the plan. And once I remembered that, then the contact started to become direct with me.
Now, how so many have had somebody close to them, pass away. My mom passed away almost 2 years ago now. And if anybody was going to come back and visit me, it'd be her, right? Trust me on this one. She hasn't yet. But when we talk about the weight being lifted, up until her death, I would have these dreams. I'm not going to go into it, but that were bordering, nightmare. They weren't fun dreams, and they were dreams about interaction between me and my mom. And after she passed, I have not had those dreams. I have not had it. It was a weight lifted off of me in a strange way, right? But she has not come back and said hello, and I've been expecting it, Whitley. I've been expecting it.
Have you been expecting it or hoping for it? We can't be passive toward it. You get into the book, and you'll find ways of doing things. You'll find the sensing exercise. And by the way, folks, if you hear me talking about this sensing exercise, a lot of people heard me on Coast talk about it. In the year-end Dreamland, which is a huge show with all kinds of guests, it lasts 2 hours. We put it on from December the 22nd this year until after New Year's. So you got plenty of time to listen. At the end of that show, I will do the sensing exercise so you can learn it and do it too. And it's extremely simple. But anyway, you got to be active. You got to try. You can't just wait. You wait forever.
Well, so, okay, there's the sensing exercise. What else? You know that there are thousands of people right now listening to you and I that are going, okay, I need this information. I want to make that contact. It hasn't happened. Everybody else is enjoying it. I want to enjoy this too. So what can you tell them?
The first thing is that, everything comes to the one who waits well. That's an old saying. And it's true. And you have to be very patient, both with yourself and with the universe around you.
Right.
And to know that things may happen and may not happen. And sometimes this is very subtle and it's hard to notice. Things pass by me all the time. And I think later, I wonder if that was Annie trying to communicate with me. And sometimes probably it was. But the main thing is that you have to be in a state of what the Catholics call a state of grace, which is where you don't have anything that you would like to hide from God. If you just can be, the more open you can be inside yourself, and that doesn't necessarily mean things that you did that were bad. There's stuff between you and your mom of some kind that you've got to find out, Jimmy. You got to do this. And those dreams, you try to go back and ask yourself what they meant and see if they don't return again in some different way with a little more explanatory information so that you can understand what's going on there, because something's going on there. And you need to look at that, or they wouldn't have been there. And they have something, there's a message that now that your mom is gone, whatever was this nightmarish edge to these dreams is no longer possible. So it's, it's something you have to look through. And don't be afraid if it's some negative thing between you and your mother. There's no one born who doesn't have negative stuff between him or her and his parent and their parents. Mm-hmm. That is a fact. We all do.
Right.
And some of it runs so deep we can't even, like in my case, we can't even see it because my mama was a wonderful woman, and she was the only one who figured out I'm unusually bright, and she was the only one in the family who really got that. And when I was 11, she bought me this magnificent set of books called The Great Books of the Western World, 52 volumes, I think, with everyone from Homer to Einstein in the books. And I just devoured those books. I didn't read them all, of course, but I read lots of parts of lots of them. And my whole intellectual journey started there. So this was a good woman. I'm saying that what happened between us when I was very little, I regard as, if it did happen that way, as just an aberration or a moment of exhaustion.
Oh, and also a message. I mean, you got the message. You figured it out.
Yeah, I got the message.
Right. I want you to, when we go to a break, I'm looking at this picture now. Somebody just posted this on Twitter, and you're copied on it so you can see it. But anyway, it's a photograph. It's taken last year. It's myself and George Norrie. We're doing a panel, and I think it's George's panel. And anyway, so George and I are up at the podium talking in this picture. And there's, I think it's David Wilcock. Looks like Nassim Haramein, I think, is next. And then there's Danyan, right?
Yeah, I see him.
Right, and Laura Eisenhower. You're not there. And we were waiting for you to show up. And you remember, you were late, right? So I'm up with George, kind of delaying things, waiting.
The Conscious Life Expo. Yeah, I got fired. They don't have me there anymore.
It's because you were late, man. So anyway,
I was late. No, but I'm not going to be there anymore, I don't think.
Okay, well, but anyway, do you see the comment here? It says, Whitley was about to arrive and sit at the far left. When he sat down, I saw a female shadow being torso, twice appear directly behind Whitley, almost directly out of his shoulders against the backdrop. Do you remember anything strange?
No, but it doesn't surprise me. People see that sort of thing around me all the time.
Right.
And sometimes I do feel it, but I didn't then. What was happening to me then was I was running frantically through the place because I got the schedule all messed up. And that empty chair was about to be filled by a desperately running man.
I remember.
That was what I was thinking about. And I'm not surprised, though, because people see those things. They see little orbs of light, and sometimes they take pictures of them. A lot of pictures people took of Annie had those orbs around them, her.
Right.
And so, yeah, that stuff happens. I'm not surprised.
Now, I wanted to talk about a couple of chapters in the book, and before we hit this next break, I think this is chapter 4, which is titled, Whitley, I Need Your Help.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's set this up. I want to talk about it a little bit more after the break, but set us up, this chapter.
Well, what happened was we were... it was a perfectly normal, nice day in October of 2004, and we'd spent the afternoon with our kids, and we went to the apartment we were staying in, oddly enough, on Whitley Street in West Hollywood, in the hills. And we walked in, and Art called on Coast to Coast AM, and at the same time that the call came in, Annie said, Whitley, I need your help. And I looked, and she was standing in the bathroom, and her legs were buckling. And I said, Ann just collapsed. I got to go. Click. And went in and helped her down and made sure her head did not hit hard against the floor. That was very important. I didn't know whether I had a wife anymore or not. What was happening? I was completely shocked out of my mind by this. I immediately made sure she had an airway, started to give her CPR, realized it wasn't necessary. She was still breathing. Called EMS, then called my son, told him to come over immediately. And that was the beginning of the adventure that led to her NDE, and more importantly, to the core of the Afterlife Revolution, which is that people are routinely brought back from the dead nowadays. As we point out in the book, in the old days, people who had to intentionally tempt death, some Indian tribes in the United States, Native American tribes, the ritual would be, if you wanted to be a medicine person, you had to jump off a cliff. And if you lived, you were right. That was your calling.
Right.
And if you died, well, try again next time. Better luck next time. But you had to tempt death. And this is a rare thing. It's not something people do every day, and not too many people are willing to put their lives on the line for something like that in any culture. But now, every day, people go into a deeper into the world of the dead than anyone ever could in the past, even with these near-death, even with these temptings of death. Because if they went as far as Anne went, for example, they would never come back before modern medicine.
Right.
But Anne was brought back, and millions of people are brought back. And, we've got millions of shaman now because all these people who are being brought back and coming forth with their near-death experiences to them families, or sometimes they write books about them or talk about them or whatever. These are the new shaman. These are the people who are leading us in the afterlife revolution. And Anne was one of them, one of millions.
When she, now this happened in 2004. Now, the contact that one has with somebody close to them that has passed, does that, because that was in 2004, she passed last year, and you're still having contact. Does that contact happen? Is it consistent, or does the person on the other side eventually go beyond the ability of contact? Is there someplace else?
Well, it depends on the situation. Like Annie is not, as she puts it, I'm not Anne anymore, but I'll be always be Anne for you. And she wants to remain with me, and I want to remain with her. We've made this pact together, this decision that we probably made even before we were born. I don't know. But the idea here is that we would stay in contact. And it just, the other night I had what I call an Anne dream, where I'm trying to get to Anne. And some of these have been really extraordinary. This one was beautiful, but it wasn't. What happened was I was in a town, and the vault of the sky was a very special blue that I call Ascension Blue. It is the most beautiful blue, pure blue with blue-white light. It's gorgeous beyond belief. And that's the level that Anne is in and is now. And I wanted to get up there. I climbed up in a tree, and I got way up into the top of the tree, and I was trying to just make myself light enough so I could move, so I could ascend, and I couldn't do it. And I finally went down, and there were these people there who were very sweet, who I think I know from some way, but not. I can't say that I know them in this life, but they've had a very friendly, familiar feel to them, and they were comforting me and saying, "You just have to be patient with yourself. You'll be fine." So that happened. That happens all the time. I'm trying hard to get to the next level, even in this life, because Jesus said, we could enter the kingdom of heaven while we were still alive. We didn't have to wait. So I'm trying.
Easier said than done, Whitley.
Well, maybe easier said than done, but that doesn't mean you can't try.
That's right.
Or you shouldn't try.
This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Whitley Strieber. The new book is The Afterlife Revolution. More with Whitley right after this short break. Now, Whitley, you said something very interesting. You know what? I'm going to ask the question when we return. Out of time. I got to take the network break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Whitley Strieber. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. And last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Whitley Strieber. And this segment of Fade to Black is brought to you proudly by River Moon Coffee. Makers of the Fade to Black blend. Just go over to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Click on the banner right there. Get 15% off of your order of River Moon Coffee with the promo code F2B Blend. The new book is called The Afterlife Revolution. And Whitley, I think that most people have a vision or a dream, which we have just been talking about. And Tanette just sent me this question, and I don't know if you've seen it, but she says, what is it when you dream of someone that you know, but they have a different face, but you know that it is them? I think we've all had that.
Boy, I wish Anne could tell me the answer to this question. She was a really expert dream interpreter who never herself had dreams. She very rarely dreamed. But, you say we've all had that happen, but I haven't. I don't remember a dream like that in my life. What might it mean, though? Well, I think I will tell you this, and I've got a feeling maybe Annie is helping me here, that it might mean that what you're looking at is a person that you've known in another life.
Right.
And you're seeing them as they were in that life.
And have you talked to her about reincarnation?
Yeah.
Because
she's basically said that it happens when you're not finished. And she directed my attention to war and to the fact that so many of the deaths that people remember are violent. And in fact, that one or two reincarnation deaths, 3 reincarnation deaths that I remember distinctly were all very violent. And I think that when we're not finished and we die violently, then we're reincarnated and come back and we remember those things. So I think, I don't think that everybody is reincarnated. And Annie has already said to me, I'm not coming back, she said, and neither are you. So I learned something from that I will not be back here. And that's fine with me. I've done this plenty of times. I have a couple of past life memories dating back to ancient Rome. And, that's enough. I've been doing this for a while. I'd like to move on, definitely. I want to ascend out of this level very much. And Annie has already. And, I want to join her. I want to join her.
You said right before the break, you said something very interesting. You said that Anne said that she is not Anne anymore.
Right.
What did you mean by that?
The soul has a long shadow. And when we pass out of life, all of the filters that are in the brain are gone. And all that is left is what we truly are. And that goes back a long time for a lot of us. For most of us. And Annie is that now. She is her presence in the universe, not Anne. But her essence lived so much in her that when I am close to her, I really feel very strongly as if there's a sort of deep rightness about what it was for her to be Anne, that she was expressing her essential being in her personality, which would probably make her laugh to think, but that's the way I perceive it. So even though she's not Anne anymore, she'll always be Anne for me, and maybe a lot of what she has a very definite flavor of the Anne I knew as well.
Is she happy?
Yeah, I think she's very happy. I think she is living from joy. But I also think that she is working here and eager to work here. This book had a very strange life, a very strange beginning. For example, usually my books are published by a regular publisher, but for some reason with this one, everything went wrong, and I kept having the strong feeling that it had to be out in December of 2017. I was working feverishly on it, and I realized I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to get it out because I'm going to have to submit it in November, and no one's going to be, the earliest anyone will be able to get it out is next spring. And so my longtime editor was going to buy it and put it out next fall, nearly a year from now. And something happened in his life that made it impossible for him to continue. And so he was gone. And then one other publisher came forward, but they couldn't bring it out until next spring. And I thought, I just have a funny feeling I need to do this now. It's important now for some reason. And I have a feeling 2018 might be a big year. I don't know why. A year of a lot of change. And that the book's going to become important because people really do need to know how to make a strong soul. And, we've been told this many, many times by different religions, but it's not out there in the simple, direct terms with which we communicate with each other now in the modern world. It's out there in poetry and myth and in the beautiful words of the Gospels and in other religious texts, but it's simple and straightforward version of it is what is in the Afterlife Revolution, how to make a strong soul. It ain't hard.
Right.
It just takes a lot of work.
Well, and it does, and it's hard work, and nobody wants to do the hard work. They want the easy road.
Well, I don't know. When you start really getting into it, it's really fun.
Well, it is, but there's another part of this, though, Whitley, that goes with that, and we are taught to fear death. I mean, that's a taught thing.
It's learned. It's learned.
Right.
I mean, you're going to disappear from the face of the earth. Of course, you're scared. Who wouldn't be?
Right. And why is that? I mean,
well, it's very interesting. I did ask Anne about that, and she said because the ego is is physical. It's part of the brain. And what is the ego? I said, and she said it's what you build to have social interaction. I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
She's much more eloquent than this. Anyway, it's what you build to interact with the world around you, and it starts to be built when your parents give you your name. And it's built around your name. But it's not you. It's not your soul. However, it knows, just like the rest of the body, that it's going to die. It's going to disappear. And she said, you must always remind your ego that it will never be forgotten. Never. And that even though it will die, its memory will be forever part of the universe. The memory of that ego will be forever part of the universe. And it's a very comforting thought because you begin to learn to see your body and your self, your Whitley or your George or your Jimmy or whatever it may be, as part of an instrument that someone is using to navigate through the physical world and the time stream. And it becomes really fun all of a sudden. And you get to be like Annie and so many of the NDEers are. You kind of realize that death is not that big a deal. And she said, when it happened to me, it feels more like you're being born. And the first thing that crossed my mind was, I thought I was alive, but I was actually dead. They're the dead. We're alive.
Danian talks about that all the time.
Danian, I had a conversation with him on the phone the other day. He is a very wonderful man. He's a lovely fellow.
To hear him laugh out loud about death, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, now this is staying on this, though. I think it's very important because imagine the world. A child 5 years old doesn't understand death yet, right? It's not, they don't get it. Therefore, there's no fear. I'm just pulling an age out, 5, 4, 3, 2, what have you. But as you get older, you're taught more and more every single day to fear death. And you see, you know, and what this world would be, it would be such a different place if that wasn't instilled in us nearly every single day.
Annie says that all violence comes from fear, and fear of death is the core of fear. And one of the things that she's hoping is she says that that we don't need to live separate. The bridge between the living and what we call the dead, as she puts it, we can cross back and forth, and we can live as a whole species. Her attitude is that when we are like we are, split into two parts, we're not a whole species. We haven't really grown up yet. And the reason that these visitors seem to always bring the dead with them is that they're not like that. They're living between the worlds all the time. And it's a completely different way of living, and it is where mankind is going. It is where we're going right now. This is the leading edge of human reality, and it is where we are headed to a place where the living and the dead are in communion with each other, and we are an entirely whole species, and it's going to be a very, very different experience from this, and a better one, a richer one, but also one that will lack in certain ways the spontaneity and the surprise of childhood, because that is what we are leaving right now. Childhood is at its end, and we're getting ready to grow up.
Now, so two or three things cross over here for me in this discussion. One, reincarnation, and when we reincarnate, do we do it as a baby or as a puppy or what have you? And second, the two questions that have been asked since the dawn of man, which are we alone in the universe, right? And what happens after we die? Those three subjects now, this is your life, Whitley.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I know a lot about those things.
Right.
I know pretty much what happens after we die because I've been with Anne when she died. I was right with her, and I went with her when she left. I went with her. I went out of my body and went with her.
Right.
I mean, I'm not one of these people who can induce their own out of body experiences, but I can go out and I'm taken out, and often appear. People can see me when I'm out of my body quite often, and that just happened about a year ago. But anyway, I went with her, and I went out through this level of reality, which was like sort of almost like underwater, like being under the sea, and there were these looming entities there that were watching us very, very carefully, and I didn't have the impression they were particularly friendly. And I was with her. I know about the stories of the Bardo and getting through it in good shape. And I had no intention of letting my wife do that on her own. I was going with her as far as I possibly could. And she went out through that and up and into the air and into the sky and higher and higher and higher. And she was laughing at me, and I was coming along as fast as I could. And I had to stop because you're connected to your body with the silver cord that's mentioned in the Bible is very real. And she went on and on and on, and I couldn't stay with her. And I came back to my body and my grief, and she went on. And that was what it was like to be with her when she died. It was the loveliest, sweetest, and most heartrending experience I've ever known, because I wanted so badly to go with her, but I have business here. And like she says, Whitley, we made a family, and one of us needs to stay behind for that family, and one of us needs to stay behind to do the physical part of the work. And you listen to me and you do your work, and don't you try to come here early or you'll get in trouble. Because I have thought a lot about how much I would like to just finish it myself.
No, yeah. You don't want to deal with her on the other side, pulling that one off.
I do not want to come to her and hear her say, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah, no.
Because she was a nice person, but she did not suffer fools gladly. And having been a fool in her presence many times in my life, I know that all too well.
Exactly. That's actually a very, very funny thought when you think about it. I think about listening to your experiences and reading the book and talking to you as much as I do, that I look around myself too, and we all wonder what it must be like to be in your position. Right? To be, you're an author. You know how to write. You know how to express thought. And then combine all of this with your life's experiences, and you're able to write this down. People share your experiences, and certainly they ask themselves, man, okay, what if I was in this position? Because they know exactly what it must be like through your writing. And I've gone through those same thoughts. I've looked around and just thought, man, what would I do? What would Rita go through if I wasn't here? And that's...
Yeah, exactly. And what would my son do and my grandkids?
Right.
that are counting on me to stay here as long as I can for them. And I want to, because it's a perfectly lovely, lovely life. Annie set out, one of her main goals was make a family, and she did, and she made a beautiful family. And, I belong to that family. Number one, right now. This is where I belong. And I'm going to stay here as long as I can.
You wrote
do my thing.
Yes, you wrote. I just want to mention this really quick, and then we'll move on. You write. There's I don't want to go too deep into this because it's pretty rough to read, but you write about having to sleep in your bed without Anne. Right?
Yeah, I do that every night. I sleep in the place where she left, where she slept the night she died.
And I'm reading that. I'm like, man, this is rough, right? But you write.
It's not rough. It's a lovely experience.
No, I'm saying as a reader. As a
reader, yeah, I guess it would be. But, you get to the point where you're not scared of death anymore. And it's a sacred place in my life because she made it sacred by what happened there.
Right.
And I consider it a privilege to sleep there and a joy.
Now, you write one of the chapters, I don't know which chapter this is. I'm just looking at my notes here, but the living will know the dead. And I as I started the chapter, which this is about technology and us here on Earth. And about Earth changes. Take us through that chapter. I thought it was pretty profound.
The living will know the dead.
Yes.
Okay. Well, are we coming up on a break?
10 minutes. 8 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay. So we've got some time.
The reason, okay.
Well, I know I'm getting there.
Okay.
Just give me a chance here. I can't. I'm trying to remember exactly what's in that particular chapter. It's not so easy. Give me a hint.
Well, it's about you writing Anne's diary. And the website.
Oh, yes. Now I remember. It's about the changes that are coming on the Earth.
That's right. And she wanted the diary to continue.
Right. And, Anne came along. She hasn't been here since last, I think, October. But she's written 3 or 4 very profound diaries since she passed. And they're terribly hard for me to do because, first of all, intellectually, they're really challenging because there's a lot of ideas that I don't understand and haven't thought about before. And second, she comes so close to me and becomes inside me and part of me that it's hard. When she's finished, it's almost like when she parts from me, I feel it very, very acutely. And the grief is painful. But at the same time, the things that she's left behind are really, really beautiful. Like there was a one about Valentine's. Let me get to the website and I'll give you a little taste of it. And you can go, folks, on unknowncountry.com and click on Anne's diary down at the bottom of the homepage, and it's all right there. But this was the one, I think, right before the last one. It was about February of last year, and it was called Objective Love. And it was about this was February 15th of 2017. It was called Anne's Valentine to You, We Are Lovers.
Right. I remember that.
It talks about how it is and what mankind has to give to this universe. And it turns out that this contentious, argumentative, snappy, dangerous, violent species has got love to give. We have to find love for each other, for all of us, and this is what the universe wishes us to give. The gift of our being is our love. And so, we got quite a challenge there because let's face it, there's not a lot of love. I mean, we're not very loving to each other. I mean, some guy just tried to blow people up in New York the other day. There's whole stretches of this planet that are in ruins because of war. And we just finished a situation where the Germans gassed 6 million Jews for no clear reason. Mm-hmm. And, we're real far from that goal. But when you hold a baby in your arms, or when you and the one you love come together, this goal, is distant as it seems, is possible. And not only that, it is worth reaching to become a species in love simply living in love. It is possible. That is something that could happen to us that we could do. And if we do it, then this is our gift to the universe. This is what is wanted from us.
Stanton Friedman, the other day on the show, and he's so smart, right? But he said one line that it is repeating over and over in my head. He said, now check this out. It's exactly what you just said. He said, we have spent more money on destruction than construction. Wait, it's just like the simplest sentence, right? And so profound. And that's our goal. We can't get away. It's just like, it's so simple. How can we do that? How can we base our existence and our future on that methodology? Because that apparently is our plan, because we haven't done anything but that for thousands of years.
Yeah, we haven't. And what we need to do is, it starts with each one of us individually opening ourselves first to one person and then another. And what do you do when you're face to face with someone who has done you terrible wrong, or who is terribly dangerous and you know them to be dangerous, a criminal of some kind, or someone with whom you profoundly disagree politically? Any of those things. How do you bring your love to that situation? Or your wife and your husband has cheated, or a husband and your wife has cheated. What happens then to your love? You're a young kid and some general puts a gun in your hand and says, you go kill those fellows over there. Mm-hmm. Take their lives.
Right.
What happens to your love? And I'll tell you, there's an answer to that question. All of these things pass away. But as Annie says in her diary entry, that's Appendix 1 of the book, her diary entry called The Love That Led Me Home, that when we die, all that is left of us is the love that we had in this world. In fact, she also said recently, and this is in the book too, enlightenment is what happens to us when there is nothing left of us but love. So when I was talking about mankind and giving the gift of love to the universe,
right,
I was really talking about the possibility, as incredible and even funny as it sounds, that we could become as a whole species enlightened. We could. We wouldn't even be here if that wasn't possible. That's what's possible. That's the possible.
Do you remember last year? We got to take a break. Last year, I called you up and I said, Whitley, I want to do a show on Anne's diary. Do you remember that?
Yeah, sure do.
We still need to do that in the future. I was telling Whitley, I start my day, I go to Anne's diary. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Whitley Strieber. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station.
Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com. Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Whitley Strieber. The new book, The Afterlife Revolution. And this portion of the show is brought to you by New Pharma. Just click on the banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. Use the promo code F2B. I take their foundation drops every single day. Just go to the website for New Pharma, click on the banner, and read about the science behind New Pharma. Promo code F2B, 33% off of your order. Now, Whitley, you have a chapter here. This is, it's called Soul Tools. And as I'm reading the chapter, I was with, and I couldn't believe you, Ann said this to you. A couple of years ago, 5 years ago, I'm with one of the big gurus those in the world, awakening consciousness people, in the world, and I'm alone with them. And I said, okay, can I ask you just one question? I'm not making this up, by the way. This is exactly how it went down. And I said, what's the key to everything? All right. And he looked at me and laughs, and he goes, laughter. And I said, that's it, right? That's it?
Interesting.
Yes. And he said, laughter. Laughter is the key to life. And
well, that's exactly. Anne was talking about that all of her life. I mean, she always believed that.
And you write here, she says, let me get to this part, because it froze me in my tracks when I read this in the book. And she says, she saw laughter as the key to consciousness. In fact, as the key. Your how do you say that? Your emphasis, right, is the key. Her message of have joy, I cannot repeat enough. She says, when you ascend into laughter.
That's right. And that's, she also, what she says, you can't understand the Big Bang, that's it, unless you understand it as an explosion of happiness, which is really fascinating. As she passed on, she left a book open in our library, a little library, called Physics from Fisher Information, which is a physics book Anne had read and she liked a lot. And in the book, there is a passage about the fact that the universe, the Big Bang, was a single primordial quest for knowledge, the beginning of a quest for knowledge. And Annie used to say that God laughed in surprise. And that surprise is what everything came from. And she used to quote Meister Eckhart, the great 14th century mystic and theologian, Catholic mystic and theologian, who used to say, God laughed, and God's laughter begat the Son, and they laughed together, and their laughter begat the Holy Spirit. And the three laughed together, and out of their laughter poured the whole universe. And so when we laugh, we're really doing something very sacred. And that's why I always thought that Lenny Bruce was a saint.
Yeah. And the instinct of laughter, right? You see somebody laugh, you hear somebody laugh, you laugh. You can't help it. It comes right out of you. Kids,
we love to laugh.
Yeah, when kids start laughing, the innocence of that, because they can't control themselves. Right?
No,
they can't.
Annie laughed. When she laughed, it came right up out of her gut. It was a deep, wonderful laugh. I love to make Anne laugh. In fact, our relationship really started by me telling funny stories, because I had a fairly funny childhood, and I cut up a lot in ways that turned out to later on be very funny to think about and talk about. I did a lot of things that were generally upsetting to my father, but terribly funny to everybody else. I don't know why he was always the victim, but I guess I was too scared of my mother. She could get serious, but he didn't have that. He didn't have that gene.
There's another line here where you say that Anne could laugh her ego out of the way.
Yes, she sure could, and she could help you do it too. She was real. Anne was a teacher. She was what I call a hidden master. In other words, she didn't make a big deal out of it, but she surely knew what she was doing when it came to helping us see ourselves and build a strong soul. She was very good at it. And if you came into Anne's orbit with a big ego, you soon found yourself being pricked in places you didn't know you could hurt. And she was very, very good at that. including this big ego here that's talking to you right now. So she could definitely do that. And there was always this wonderful sense of fun about it. It was a lot of people who have listened to her on the radio show or had the good luck to be at one of the Dreamland festivals or at one of the other things that she was at and talk to her and be with her. You found all this stuff out about her very quickly. She was terribly alive and full of fun.
Now, you talk about the 3 pillars and in Soul Tools. What are they?
Love, compassion, and humility. You work with those 3, and you're going to do well. And you just really have to work with them, because finding a way in yourself to love others, it's easy to love your friends or your loved ones or your kids or your parents. But what about the guy struggling along down the street, or the waitress in the restaurant, or the person who just happens to be passing in a car? How do you feel love for them that seems so ordinary and so distant from you? You start by always remembering that they are as much a universe unto themselves as you are to yourself, that it's pretty much the same inside them as it is inside you. They are just as vulnerable and needy and hopeful as you are, and they need an arm around them too. And it will never be your arm, because that little car is going to drive on down the street. But that person in that car matters just as much as I matter. Just as much. Go ahead.
It's hard sometimes. You get cut off on the freeway talking about somebody next to you, and you immediately feel the negativity. And
well, if you're listening to this in L.A.,
right,
you're gonna think to yourself, well, I've got my work cut out for me, because I wanted to kill 16 people today. 2 of them cut me off. 3 of them honked at me when they shouldn't have. Another guy nearly ran me down when I was walking. I mean, we've all got those stories here. It is the case in Los Angeles and in a lot of places. It's not the only city in the world that has rotten traffic.
The first time I saw road rage was in Seattle, and this is probably 20 years ago. I'm in downtown Seattle. It's in the winter, and the streets were frozen. There was slush around. It doesn't really snow in Seattle. Well, anyway, but it was this day. There was this freak ice storm, right? And I'm in downtown Seattle, and I'm at a street corner, and I see this it's a woman driving, and she's right in front of me. She stops, and this car comes from behind her, sliding, and it goes a little bit sideways. This lady jumps out of the car that was sliding. She was trying to catch up to this other lady, is what was going on. She jumps out of her car. The other lady that's right in front of me, she jumps out of her car, and these 2 white, middle-aged, not quite soccer moms, they were probably both working in the middle of the day, are now grabbing each other's hair, slapping each other and yelling and fighting in the middle of the street in downtown Seattle. And I backed up off of the curb, and I'm like, what is going on with humanity? I cannot believe I'm watching this go down. And they wanted to kill each other. And eventually, some people went up and separated the 2 of them. Nobody got arrested. And they get in their cars and they drive away. And it was my first experience with anything like this. Road rage was a phenomenon that came later. But there it was. And I just had to ask myself, what is going on that you have that instant hatred from your soul that you want to come out literally and just start doing this in a public place? And this isn't 2 grown men. It's 2 women doing this.
Well, at first, it's not from your soul. It's from your ego.
Right. And
it's fine. It's part of what the ego is here to do, is to experience is to build these experiences. You're not supposed to go through life without having any intense experiences, negative and positive. This is our food. This is what we're here to consume and learn from. If you don't have experiences, you can't learn anything. It's not meant to be all sweetness and light here. It's meant to be a rough road, and it is a rough road. And our task is, how do we find ourselves in a place beyond that? And how can I defend myself from the person who is slapping me around while also feeling laughter and joy inside? It is possible.
I'm not so sure if I learned anything from that, except for don't drive in Seattle during the winter. But what would we learn from that? And the woman driving away, the two, they're driving away obviously shaking, right? Their nerves, their adrenaline is pumped. What do they learn? What they
learned? Both of them learned the same thing. They learned that there was some part of themselves that could do that.
Wow.
And they probably didn't know that before, I would guess, or maybe I would guess not. But you learn from that, and you look at it that way, and you think to yourself, well, maybe these two souls were just in the same classroom together in a certain school of souls, and they decided, well, we need to learn this, and so we're going to go ahead and get out of these cars and do it together. Slap, 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 slap.
Wow.
There's another way of looking at all of this stuff.
I try to I try to laugh. I really do. And for you to write that, or for Anne to say that in the book, and for me to have been told this advice, I try to deal with life that way, and that I don't have room for negativity. I don't have room for negative friends or negative people.
Yeah, but you have to have room for negativity, because that's part of life. Feeling and experiencing negativity is very, very important, because you can't get to a point where you're separate from it unless you know it and know it well.
Right.
You cannot understand it unless you really, really accept that part of you that's like that and live in it and live with it. And frankly, you will find, if you're lucky and you work on it enough, that it's absolutely hilarious. That your negativity is funny as hell. And especially when you don't think it's funny. That's when it's really funny.
If negativity, for me, this is my own personal experience, I've certainly spoken about it enough publicly, is that negativity, certainly through forms of mass media, and seeing and hearing negative things would change me physically. And I didn't like that feeling, right? I didn't like that exposure to it. And I felt physically ill. And I didn't dig that. So I stopped with the mainstream media. I stopped watching the news. I stopped having negative. I wouldn't respond to negativity. I wouldn't read. We were talking about criticisms earlier, that you've gone through more than your fair share of that.
Oh yeah, I'm used to it. I don't care.
I don't care anymore. Right?
No, exactly.
I don't expose.
You can't care. I mean, there's a guy writing a debunking book about me right now that's going to be out next year. Do I care? I do not.
A debunk? Why? See, that's a
because
really,
he thinks he can make some money. Why not? Where else?
What would motivate somebody with negativity like that?
Well, it's not my problem, because I don't have it.
Right.
And I mean, I'd like him to write a debunking a book about somebody else, and I could even give him some ideas. But that's not what it's going to be. So
yeah, I don't understand a couple of phenomena that are going down right now. One, because of social media, and you can hide behind a computer screen and the glass and the keyboard, that people that wouldn't normally say negative things, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be political, it could be something else, or what have you. But that trolling and negativity and negative posts and negative things are the norm now. It used to be the exception, And I have said, Whitley, to people directly, would you really walk into where you work or walk into your parents' home and look at them and start calling people names? Right? Would you do that at a party? No, you wouldn't. but you feel that it's okay to express these kind of thoughts in social media.
Well, they have a lot of anger that they can't do anything with, because we're mostly, all of us, very helpless. And even like the President of the United States is the most helpless of all. It doesn't look like that when you start. But then you get into it and you realize, I'm trapped, and I'm trapped in the illusion of power, and I can't escape. And it's hard, I think, for these guys as they get into it more deeply. That's why their hair turns gray. Like Obama's hair turned gray during his presidency. If you see him when he went in, he's a young man. When he comes out, he's an old man. The same with Bill Clinton.
Right.
All of them. Ronald Reagan was that way. I've known a few presidents who've had an interest in the UFO thing, but I don't talk about them specifically. But I do know from personal experience that, there's no one out there who isn't struggling in one way or another with this. We all are. We have just to accept it. Accept it.
Well,
the negativity is there. It's there in us, and it's there in everyone around us.
How, though? How do you accept it, or how do you get used to it? How do you let it roll off of you like water off of a duck's back? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, you have to. If you can't let it roll off to you, I mean, if somebody is suing you this has happened to me, in order to get money out of you for something that was completely you didn't do. In this case, it turned out to be completely absurd. They sued my publisher for saying that one of my books was plagiarized. And we were very concerned at first because we got this notice of this lawsuit being filed from the federal court. And I thought, well, it's just a notice. It didn't say what the suit was. And eventually the suit appeared. And it was like 750 pages, filed by the person, not by a lawyer. And what it was a lawsuit claiming that I had plagiarized, that Communion plagiarized Moby Dick.
Oh, I remember this. Yes. Yes.
The word white was used occasionally in both books. And I said to the publisher's lawyer, do you expect to have trouble with this? And he said, the only danger is that if the judge thinks it's funny and begins to play games with us. But the judge did think it was funny, but he was a serious guy and he didn't play any games with us, and the suit was thrown out. But, there are much more serious things that happen all the time in this world. Well, like, for example, what do these guys who have been torched recently feel? It's an awful thing that a lot of them have done. They've done dreadful things. But at the same time, you have to have compassion includes everyone. And it doesn't include just the good guys or the people who you see suffering on the street corner. It includes the bad guys too. How do you become? Now, when I was growing up, I was very close friends with a priest in my town, and we used to talk a lot about this level of ethics. This type of ethics is, how do you feel forgiveness, as Jesus did? And how do you really feel that and be that way without being a fool? I mean, you're standing in front of an SS officer who's getting ready to put you in a truck and send you to Auschwitz.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to quip and laugh and say he's fine. You're in trouble, and he's a nightmare. The guy is a monster. So where do you find the joy that is beyond all of that? Where do you find it? And the answer is, it's there inside you. And, people who live through that experience, some of them ascended from there. And so you have to ask yourself, were the Nazis their friends or their enemies? Because when you ascend from this level of reality, you're never coming back, and you don't end either. The idea of death passes from you. The experience passes from you. and you join this wave front that is expanding, and it will expand forever, of ecstasy, because ecstasy is like heat. Heat has no upper limit. It's not like cold. Cold has an absolute final end, absolute zero.
Mm-hmm.
And so does evil. It has an absolute final end, stillness and darkness, but not ecstasy. And that's where we're going.
Well, I think we always took comfort in knowing that we have been taught that there's also, heaven and hell. And, there's a place for those bad people, and they are going to be there forever.
Go ahead.
Oh, so is there a heaven and hell? I mean, what has Ann said about this?
But I'll tell you one thing for sure. We don't know who's good and who's bad. And there's a reason that it says in the Bible, judge not, lest ye be judged. We have no choice but to judge people who are dangerous to others. But the amount of judging that we do of others is really very excessive. We can't know the secrets of the human heart, not even our own very often. And, we judge one person that, well, he's no good, or she's stupid, or he's a arrogant genius, or he's a moron, or whatever else.
Right.
And, you have to look past all of that, and then you're free. And you also, people change completely in your eyes. People you thought were, you had judgments about, if you just forget all of that, then you see them before you very much as they really are, just like you, struggling through life, scared, helpless, hopeful, full of fear and full of joy, all mixed up at once, and wondering who in the world they really are. And we're all there. That's home for mankind.
Just an amazing conversation tonight, Whitley. The new book is The Afterlife Revolution, and you can get to the book through jimmychurchradio.com. You can go straight to Unknown Country and whitleystrieber.com. The links are right there. Go and get the book. It is a fantastic read.
Go on Amazon and get it. That's where it is.
Yeah, and we have those links up too as well. But my question is this. We've got 1 minute. What is the next book? What are you working on?
Oh, I have no idea.
That's an honest answer.
Yeah, no idea. It'll come or it won't. I never worry about that. I've got a lot of things that are floating around in my head.
Science fiction?
I don't know. I really don't know. There's a lot of things, as I say, that float around in my head. I have a feeling that maybe Annie's finished writing books. I don't know. But if she's not, I'll hear from her sooner or later. And there'll be something coming along the pike along those lines. Or the visitors. I mean, anything can happen in my life. Anything usually does.
Whitley, thank you so much. And the next time on the show, we are going to do an Ann's Diary evening. And look, I'm doing it for myself, but I want you to come along and do it with me. Can you do that?
Yeah. Maybe the next book is going to be Ann's Diary.
We have to. We absolutely have to do it. Thank you so much, Whitley. Be safe out there, and we'll talk over the next couple of days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Whitley Strieber, everybody. Again, the links for everything are over at jimmychurchradio.com. The Afterlife Revolution. It is an amazing read. All right. I'm going to depart here for a couple of minutes. I'll come back and open up the phone lines. Thank you, Whitley. This is Fade to Black. I'll be right back.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter. But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheTea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheTea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. All right, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, Whitley. The book, The Afterlife Revolution. It's an amazing read. I'm telling you, I went page after page after page after page. And when I had mentioned in my opening stuff here on the show tonight, there were, I can look back and look at these, these specific moments where I just things changed, right? And I realized that even though I listed some pretty elemental things, like they seem like basics, but if you go back and to those points in history where these things were exposed to us, I think we all went through those same things. But to have Whitley, for me, pop up 3 times on that list was pretty amazing, and that's what this book has done for me this week. It's just allowed me to just sit back and take a look at things. It's a very, very, very insightful read. So the Afterlife Revolutions. Now, there was something that popped up here, and I sort of brought it up, but I actually want to address this. If you're on hold, stay right there. I'm going to get to you. 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Phone lines are open, and if you're on hold, stay right there. I'll get to you in just a second. It was about pets and reincarnation. We have, we have 4 dogs, and dogs are an interesting situation because you have a relationship as a pet owner to our furry brothers and sisters, right? You have this direct connection. But I am serious too. I don't want to sound like some crazy, person here, but it's true. Our dog Portia, from the moment that we brought her home, she was a rescue. She had these eyes, right? But anyway, she would look deep into. Some dogs won't do that, right? But she would just stare into your eye, and you've had a staring contest. Well, you would lose with Portia. She would continue to look into your eyes. Anyway, I taught Portia to talk when she was a puppy. And it got out of control because now she talks, right? She talks. She modulates, she talks, and she expresses herself, and she will literally look at you and start talking. And I have asked her, who are you? There's something there, and I'm wondering if she understands everything. She's trying to express. She's trying to tell me things, and it's a fascinating thing to observe. So you have to just step back and ask yourself: is this somebody that is reincarnated into this beautiful dog, and now who understands everything, understands humans, and understands technology, and understands words and things, and they're trying to talk. They're trying to, because when she looks at me, I'm telling you, she understands everything that I'm thinking and everything that I'm saying. What I want to do. She needs something. She will tell me. Whatever it is. It's fascinating. And now we have Teddy. Teddy, I wish I could bring all of you over to the house and just hang out and watch Teddy talk, because Teddy talks and he does not stop. I understand everything that he's saying. When I say talk, he literally is talking. There's something going on there. So, yeah, pets, dogs. There's something there, man. There is something there. I don't care if I sound strange. I don't care. You guys can tell me I'm strange and I'm weird. But there's something going on with dogs. I don't know with monkeys or dolphins or cats or horses. I don't know. I can't. I'm not, but there's something special going on with dogs. 100%. We posted a video, probably, I don't even know where this is on the internet now. I've got a couple of old YouTube channels out there. I don't even know if they're still up or they've been pulled down or whatever. But we posted a video of Portia talking, and it's pretty incredible to hear her actually talk. Because she talks. For real. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, it's Damien from Hamilton.
Hey, Damien from Hamilton. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, Jimmy. And you know what's strange and weird? That's just us, Jimmy. You don't have to worry about being strange or weird.
I don't care anymore. Right? I have thoroughly... Exactly. I let that one go a long time ago. But go ahead.
Yeah, and shout out to Rita. Hope she's having fun out there. positive thoughts for everybody. But look, Jimmy, these are exciting times. Like I've been saying, the big changes that are coming, it's already happening. I know there's still crazy stuff going around the world, but I can feel it. I know you can, and I can sense it in like all the Federnauts that call in, and not just the Federnauts, but everybody around the world.
Well,
we're gonna unite, Jimmy, and we're gonna come out of this. And these are really exciting times. I'm really excited right now. I can feel, I can see it, and I can feel it, Jimmy.
Well, what'd you think about the conversation tonight with Whitley?
Oh, every time he's on your show, Jimmy, he's one of us, you know. And I know he's been through. He's probably listening right now, and even though I have not been exactly through the same situations he's been through or experienced some of the stuff he's been experiencing and has experienced, but in a way, I know where he's coming from. I can feel it. I can sense it in his voice. I believe everything that he says, and it's eye-opening, and it's everything that we're about, Jimmy.
And thank you for recognizing that, and I hope he is listening right now, Damien. And have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow night on Fader Night.
All right, Jimmy, take care. Positive thoughts, Federnauts. Hey, let's drive on forward, and everybody have a good night. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, Damien. Great phone call right there. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Josh.
Hey, Josh. Which Josh?
Joshua.
Which Joshua? Do you know how many Joshuas I know?
Oh, I've never called in before.
I'm just messing with you, man. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Where are you calling in from?
California.
Okay.
Northern California.
How far north?
Oh, up in Bay Area.
Okay. All right. That's mid California. You know what's weird? Yeah. And you know this, being from that area. People think, and especially down here in Los Angeles too, but around the country, that San Francisco is at the top of California, right? And you go and you look at a map and you realize how big California really is. San Francisco is the halfway point. You drive for another 5 days to get up to Oregon after that. So there you go. So what's on your mind tonight, Joshua?
Well, you know, I've been researching for a long time myself, and one of the things I used to look into a lot was the ancient aliens, and this has like kind of become a big talk these days. And, you know, I also studied a lot about comparative religion and stuff. I kind of started out with Jordan Maxwell a long time ago. Right. And Bill Cooper and some of the old, you know, people who used to talk about the roots of religion. And, you know, I kind of followed through all these years, and I've just been reading and learning. And nowadays I hear a lot of people talking about a lot of stuff that, you know, just basically based on my knowledge and research doesn't make much sense. And I want to, you know, I thought I'd share some of that with you.
Sure, go ahead. I'd love to hear
it. Well, people talk about the Nephilim, and they talk about the Watchers. They talk about, you know, the Anunnaki. And a lot of this stuff started with Zecharia Sitchin. And, yeah, I don't know if it was maybe even right around the same time or a little bit before him. There was an author named Boulay. I don't know if you ever heard of him, R.A. Boulay, and he wrote a book called Flying Serpents and Dragons.
Yep.
Yeah, and so another thing that I've been looking into is all this reptilian stuff and, you know, the aliens, and done a lot of UFO research. And I don't have an absolute opinion on any of that stuff, but I do have a strong opinion on the ancient aliens material, and that basically, you know, I don't believe any of it anymore. And I kind of question the fact that I found out that Zecharia Sitchin had gotten funding from Lawrence Rockefeller. And I think that there's a new religion being created by people behind the scenes. And I think that some of them are doing it deliberately, and maybe some of them are just have no idea, and they're very sincere. I'm sure there's a lot of them out there too. But a lot of this really goes back to fertility and astrology and roots in the goddess religion of the old world and prehistoric era. These symbols are, a lot of people talk about that are, serpents and things like that. They find along with these, all of this has symbolism that goes back to fertility and eggs and the sun and rain. The Father God was considered the thunder and the lightning and the rain that fertilized the Mother Earth, which was the womb, which gave birth to animals and mankind. And when they say that the sons of God met the sons of God found the daughters of man to be fair and beautiful and married with them and had offspring and so forth. What they're basically saying is that the heavens and the rain and the God up in the heavens had showered down rain and fertilizing rain down onto the earth and caused the plants and the crops to grow and the animals and mankind to breed on the earth. And this has been misinterpreted by these people. And as far as Zecharia Sitchin goes, I can say he's done it absolutely deliberately. But I don't know about some of the other folks that are out there. But,
let me jump in there really quick. The thing is, when we look at any of this ancient text, ancient mythology, legend, folklore, the Bible, any of the Egyptian hieroglyphs and stories and papyrus, the Sumerian text, any Dead Sea Scrolls, we can continue on. All of the the texts from India and Asia. Look at all of those texts. All of those predated Rockefeller, first off. The second thing is it all predated Sitchin by a long shot, by thousands of years. And the third thing is all of those texts, just like the way that you just interpreted it, you can interpret any way that you wish. You can go and read. I hate it when people say I've read the Bible, but I have, right? And I've read the Bible as a novel, as a work of fiction. I looked at it with that set of eyes, just to read it as a story. So I understood what everybody else was talking about, so I could say that I've read the Bible. And I go and when I read it, I different visions from what everybody else has interpreted. And when you look at the Sumerian text, or you look at the Old Testament, and you read some of these things, it could be interpreted any way, including yours. So,
I totally.
You understand what I'm saying, right?
Oh, I totally do. I totally do. I'm not disputing any of that, and I'm not saying that I have read many of these texts, the Nag Hammadi library, the Sumerian texts, the Babylonian texts. A lot of these texts exist, and they're out there. When Zecharia Sitchin interpreted them, there's nobody else out there that agrees that his interpretations were actually accurate.
Well,
let me finish, please. The people who actually have done all of these interpretations, the interpretations exist out there, and there are legitimate people who have done research on mythology and pre-civilization that can tell you what these original stories were all talking about, like Joseph Campbell or Maria Gimbutas, when she writes about the goddess, and Joseph Campbell writes about mythology. All of this stuff was clearly explained, and there was no room for this kind of interpretation to say it was ancient aliens or astronauts or anything like that. None of that actually fits in when you truly understand the history of these myths. The myths are all about the sacred marriage. Sacred marriage was with.
I gotta disagree with you, and I'm not disagreeing with you on your views or your views of Joseph Campbell or anybody else, but I can tell you right now that there are probably walking on this planet right now 8 people, 8, not 10, 8 that can read Sumerian text. And out of those 8, none of those, I'm talking about actually reading it. Joseph Campbell couldn't. Sitchin read his version of it. And out of those 8, none of those 8 will agree with each other. Now, I'm not talking about 10,000 people that can read Sumerian text. I'm talking about 8. And they will not agree with each other. So to say that somebody disagrees with Sitchin, everybody does.
But Jimmy, these are only about maybe a couple dozen or so, or maybe a few more, maybe several dozen of these stories. Original stories, and the stories were just retold in different languages, in different cultures, over and over and over again.
Right.
But they're the exact same stories.
Again, I hear you, and I understand you. But I'll give you another example. Tell me right now that everybody on this planet interprets the King James Bible exactly the same way. They do not. They do not. They don't. They don't. They don't. And I'll give you a better example than that. Star Wars. Star Wars, man. You're not going to get 10 people in the room to agree on what Star Wars means, and that includes Joseph Campbell. All right,
if there was an original story that Star Wars was based on, and people had studied it, I'm sure they would all agree about it. But the thing is, the Jesus Christ in the New Testament, is the dying God. It is the vegetation God, and it's the same God that dies in the wintertime and is resurrected in the springtime.
We've all seen that. We've all seen that documentary. I get that. I totally get that. And then there's the flip side of that. Was Jesus even a real person?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
absolutely not. He couldn't have been. But it's impossible because how could a real person fit the mythology that had been told in every single culture going back thousands and thousands of years, predating his supposed existence?
Right, but there are right now on this planet 2 billion people that will tell you that you're out of your mind.
Well, I will tell you they're all out of their mind because they believe in fairy tales. They might as well believe in the Tooth Fairy or Casper the Ghost.
And you are entitled to that opinion. That's what makes this world a great place, my friend.
Well, I thank you for allowing me to share it, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Have a great night, Joshua. Don't be a stranger.
All right, I won't. Thank you very much.
You got it. And that's a great phone call. That's a great phone call right there. It is an amazing thing that all of this, if we go and we look at anything, it doesn't matter what it is, we can, and I do this all the time. You can go and read or watch a movie, read a book, watch a documentary, and then go back and watch it a second time, and then absolutely, like I advise all the time to do with the news or whatever, take a 180-degree view of that. That's all you got to do. Just go, okay, yeah, I'm hip. I understand all of this, and I get it, and I'm with this. But then pull yourself back and look at the same exact movie, book, and go 180 degrees in the other direction, and you can still understand it. You can look at it another way, and that's why nobody will agree on anything. People see what they want to see. People hear what they want to hear. People believe what they want to believe, and they go down that life's path. I was in a very good friend of mine. I'm just going to tell you his first name. His name is Lane. Lane and I were, and he's a cool dude, great musician, cool guy. And we're in New York. We're in Manhattan in the wintertime. And we go to this pizza place, and up it had a loft, and so we go up, we grab some pizza, and we grab whatever, beer or whatever, and we go upstairs, and we're sitting in this loft, and we kick it. Now, he's a religious guy, and we sit and we start talking. This is probably 20 years ago, and we start talking, and he tells me straight into my eyeballs that God created dinosaur bones to test our faith, right? It's like, excuse me? Yeah, man, Earth is 6,000 years old, man. That's it. There's nothing older on this planet. I'm like, wait a minute here. Dinosaur bones, 65 million years old. He goes, no, they're not. No, they're 6,000 years old. But God makes them appear to be 65 million years old to test our faith. I was like, dude, you're one of the smartest people that I know. You're one of the funniest people that I know. I love hanging out with you, but you're talking like a crazy person right now. No, that's just the way that it is. And that's what he, and you know what? I'm talking about a beautiful person, a funny guy, a great guy. Love to this day. Hanging out with him is awesome. Love it. But he believes this. He really does. And that's it. You know what? Doesn't change my opinion of him. And I still love hanging out with him. And that night we sat in that pizza parlor. God, I got to get Lane on this show. Oh, man. I'm going to see him next month. I've got to get him on this show. Anyway, we sat there for about 5 hours that night till like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Just talking about all of these things. And it blew my mind. We talked about UFOs. Oh, man, God, man, yeah, man, UFOs are real. They're just here to test our faith. I was like, dude, what? Everything was to test our faith. Talked about the Ark and Noah, the Watchers, the Nephilim. We talked about everything. The pyramids. Oof, oh, man. And it was mind-blowing. And for him to say something like that dinosaur bones are here, God created that to test our faith. And I'm sure there's somebody listening right now that believes that the Earth is 6,000 years old. Fine, that's cool. If that's what you want to go on, that's you're entitled to that. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. But that are listening to me say this right now going, yeah, pretty much. That's exactly, that's the story. Church is laying it out there. It's unbelievable. And that's what makes this world great, everybody. We all can just sit and talk. A caller like that with Joshua, right, to call in, I'll talk to somebody like that all night long. All night. I love it. I love it. That's the best part of doing this show right there. And I do want to thank Whitley Strieber for coming in tonight. The Afterlife Revolution. It is an amazing book. And with that, that will conclude another episode of Fade to Black right here. And now Fade to Black's executive producer, who right now is running around somewhere in Manhattan with our daughter, Deanna, is Rita Kamarian. Show's produced by, messing up everything. Show's produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Tomorrow night, John Rappaport right here and his No More Fake Newsroom live, followed by open lines all night long. Why? It's Thursday night, and it's Fader night. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until tomorrow night, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.